So Statistics South Africa is today expected to announce the quarterly labor force survey data for the first quarter of this year. Currently, the unemployment rate stands at 35.3%, with women and the youth bearing the brunt of this crisis. But have we come any closer to being able to quantify the real impact that this is having on women? Well, the Black Women's Caucus is a feminist movement that works to fight gender inequality in South Africa. Its communications officer is Chipo Magombo, who joins us now live from Cape Town. Chipo, it's great to have you on the program. Thank you so much indeed for making time. Let me begin with that question I asked in my introduction, whether or not you feel we are any closer in being able to really quantify how unemployment in this country is manifesting specifically in the lives of Black women in South Africa.
Thank you for having me. As mentioned, I'm the communications manager for Black Women Caucus, which is a broad-based cross-sectional feminist social movement that's fighting against the prevalence of gender-based violence and femicide in society. So a part of what we are advocating for is thorough interventions for strategies to prevent gender-based violence and femicide in areas that are where gender-based violence manifests itself, which is economically, politically, socially, physically, geographically, psychologically. And we believe that these aspects actually reinforce a system that promotes or impedes violence against women and children. And in this particular case, the quarterly labor force survey, the results are key in bringing out, those statistics we need to prove the issues that are actually needing to be addressed. Because we strongly believe there's a close correlation between the high rate of gender-based violence that the country is experiencing at the moment and the unemployment rates of women, particularly young Black women. So I definitely think that it is very important for everyone to understand that through looking intently in the statistics that we receive, we can then see a correlation of how if the statistics were different, if more women were employed, this rate of gender-based violence would be different.
Yeah, we just had a conversation, in fact, about the NCOP having passed the Employment Equity Amendment Bill, and this is aimed at ensuring that employment in this country is reflective of the demographics of South Africa, and we're hoping that if that is right, if government gets that right, then it will have a dent on the employment numbers in South Africa. Do you reckon that is a viable solution? In other words, are you satisfied with that as a point of intervention?
I definitely think, we've experienced economic disaster worldwide, globally. It's not just a South African issue. And we do know that at the moment there's an economic recovery plan in place. However, what we have noticed is that there's no clear indication of how women are being included in these plans, especially young Black women, in how to actually contribute, how they can actually contribute in ensuring that the economy is also, rebuilt. And so I definitely think that there needs to be a reconsideration of who's participation, the definition, who's participating, the definition of what actually work is, and how women can actually skillfully and rightfully contribute to ensuring that, these rates change and that there's actually some sort of change or rebuilding of the country that we can do together.
Reducing the barriers to entry into the labor market is one conversation. Once women are included at the table, as it were, it's another conversation when we think about equal opportunity or the lack thereof. Sadly, we're finding that for the women who are able to get jobs, there's still several other challenges, including the gender pay gaps, etc., etc. In a context where research has shown that typically a woman's salary goes further in supporting a family, do you reckon we are paying enough attention to those complexities?
It's actually something that's very important that you brought up as well. It's the statistics that SA brought out in March also showed that it's not the fact that women or individuals are not looking for jobs. They are looking for jobs. It's just that they're not able to get these jobs. And in addition to that, the cost of living, I'm sure everyone can attest to this, has greatly increased. Imagine a woman who is receiving a relief a grant of 350 rand, right? And is living in an informal settlement and is a single mother, maybe not as healthy as most women, and needing to have a baby formula for their child to survive. But, we're dealing with a 350 social grant, but the baby formula for 1 kg is 360. So how then can we actually ensure that women, this is not even counting the fact that she still needs to eat. She still needs to provide basic hygiene and materials for the household. If there are other people that need to be taken care of, she needs to still do perform such duties as well. So even thinking about it from the South African context, it's very difficult for women to, especially those that are solely dependent on themselves, to survive in the current existing economy, which favors a working male, more than it does a working woman.
Absolutely, all very important reflections. Chipo Magombo, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. Really appreciate your time this morning. Chipo is the communications officer for the Black Women's Caucus. They're essentially a feminist organization that's looking to combat the multifaceted ways in which gender inequality plays out in our society.